you know what? I like a little bit of cold and some sun in me. And you know what? I'm a flower for you. Hello beautiful plant people, I'm Skully and welcome to Skully's Creations, where we talk about plants and occasionally do a creative project here and there. If that sounds like your thing, your jam, please subscribe. Make sure you hit the bells to be notified next time I put out a planty video. Okay, so we are going to start the year off 2024 on a positive note because whew, my plants honestly have been through some ish throughout this move. I moved to a new place, lighting completely different, and if I'm gonna be honest, I lost a lot of plants. However, we're not talking about that in this video, but I want to let you know kind of what's going on. Now, we are going to talk about plants that actually thrived in the winter. Yes, plants that thrive in the winter actually exist. Now, I'm not saying not all plants can thrive during the winter because that's not true. If you have the correct lighting, maybe you substituted some light, maybe you have some humidifiers, like your plants, your leafy plants especially, can still absolutely thrive. But I didn't have any of that. So these are just like full-on plants that were like, you know what? I like a little bit of cold and some sun in me. And you know what? I'm a flower for you. Like that's the plants that we're talking about today. And honestly, it wasn't very many, and you'll kind of see a theme in this video because spoiler alert, they're mostly Hoyas except for one. But I am super excited to show you all these plants because they did a beautiful job during the winter. They flowered, they sun stressed, they gave me more leaf. Like, they lived their best life during the winter. And I would like to share that with you. So let's get into the plants. Okay, so the first plant that we're going to talk about is going to be this Hoya Hush. Like, just look how gorgeous she is. Now, I know not everybody gets this plant for the sun stress, but that's 100% why I got this plant, because she sun stresses hot pink, and thankfully she has a lot more light in the spot that I have her in. So she's not on this side. This window doesn't get a lot of light because there's a tree right in front of this window and it's really shaded. So during the winter, like, this spot was not it. However, the other side of this place, wait a minute. Xander, what do you have? No, sir. Drop it. Okay, so back to this. So on the other side, the lighting is a lot better, but this is gonna be the place where I have the majority of my plants. So I now know during the winter I'm gonna probably have to substitute with some type of grow lights. I've never used grow lights. I never had to use grow lights before, so this is gonna be a journey, but thankfully spring is coming. So we'll see how the lighting is now that spring and summer are approaching. Thank you. Love spring and summer. Okay, so anyways, back to the Hoya. The Hoya did great. She has not only grown a little bit more during the, I mean, she's pretty small. Yeah, this Hoya isn't the fastest growing Hoya, but she did grow during the winter, and also she sun stressed during the winter, because before I thought I had her in a pretty high lit location, but she wasn't sun stressing, not nearly as much as she has sun stressed here. So care tips real quick for this plant. I actually have not changed the soil since I got this plant. I've left it alone. Like I said, it was very small Hoya when I first got it. So yeah, so I haven't touched the soil, but I do know it's a very well draining soil. It's a Hoya. You want a good chunky mix for a Hoya. So something like, you know, regular soil mix, add some perlite, maybe some pumice, whatever you want to use. Even some orchid bark, whatever you want to use to add aeration into your soil mix. Hoya would really appreciate it because they love a good chunky mix. So this is a well draining soil mixture. I do see chunks of orchid bark, definitely some perlite in here, and maybe just mix with cocoa coir, honestly. That's what it looks like to me. But like I said, I got it like this. I haven't changed it because, oh, that's another thing. Hoyas, they like to be a little bit snug in their pots, so you don't have to repot them very often. So as this one is growing, I've left it in the same pot, like I said before, and I'm not planning on changing it anytime soon. Now, when it comes to watering for this plant, you definitely want to make sure the soil is completely dry. Hoyas do not like to be overwatered, so just make sure she's fully dry before giving her a good water. But when you do, make sure all that soil is nice and wet, and just give her a good water and she'll be good to go. She's a very easy plant. Now, when it comes to lighting, I have her in a very bright lit location. She gets direct sunlight all day. I will say though, there is a screen, so it is filtered direct sunlight, because if I were to have her outside in the direct sunlight, I learned that she will burn. And I'm not talking about this one because I didn't do that with this one, but I did that to my Hoya Princess and she burned. I got home, I had left her outside, I went to work, I got home, and she was crisped. Please be careful when moving your plants. And like, I knew this, but I was like, oh man, she's been in direct sunlight. Granted, she was in filtered direct sunlight. Anyways, we're not gonna get into it, but you know, RIP to my Hoya Princess. We loved you. Anyways, this plant is a beauty, and that's all I got to say for that. All right, moving on to the next one. The next plant that we're going to talk about today is going to be this Hoya Australis Lisa. Wait, right? Hoya Australis, yes. Hoya Australis Lisa. Now, as you can see, she has gotten so much bigger. I know I have footage from when I've showed her before, but what I did, which I really think made all the difference, was I added this trellis and I basically just wrapped her around, and now she's growing up here. But what was happening is this vine was just growing and she definitely needed support. So what I ended up doing is just putting this trellis. I thought the trellis was going to be bigger, but it was much smaller, so I ended up just wrapping her around. But that, I seriously think, made a world of difference in how she progressed, because that's the thing. Hoyas do like to be trellised, and she's 100% proof of that. Once I trellised her, she gave me her first peduncle. Now, this peduncle, let's see if you can see it. It's right here. That little thing right there, yeah, that's a peduncle. So she gave me her first peduncle, didn't do anything. I waited for forever, but nothing was happening. Moved to this place and then put her in some more light. She liked the light, so the lighting, the trellis, and then she ended up getting me this other peduncle, and she bloomed. I have footage, I'll put it up here for you, but she bloomed, and the blooms were beautiful. They smelled beautiful. These blooms, I want to say they smelled like cherry almost. You know what? She smelled like cherry blossom. That's what it was. It was a very beautiful floral smell, and it was so pretty too. Like this one, I absolutely loved her blooms. So she thrived and she bloomed during the winter. What I've also learned about Hoyas specifically is some Hoyas actually like a cooler temperature. Now, I don't know much about that, so until I have more information to give y'all, we'll talk more on that. But for now, I just know that some Hoyas like a cooler temperature. Yeah, and that's that. But yes, this Hoya really took off during the winter. I was super surprised on her growth, and like I said, on that bloom, I was over the moon when she bloomed, because her blooms are beautiful. Now, when it comes to soil mixture, now I do have her in a lot of perlite, a lot of orchid bark, and regular potting soil. So that's the mix that I have for her. When it comes to watering, yes, make sure that this plant is absolutely all the way. Soil needs to be completely dry, but also a telltale sign is when these leaves like are a little bit flimsy like this. Do you see how I can just easily bend it? I'm not putting a lot of pressure, but it's still bending. That is when you want to water your Hoya Australis, Lisa. A lot of Hoyas are like that. I wouldn't do that test with the YIDI that we just talked about. That one, I just make sure it's fully dry and then give her a good watering. But with this one, I make sure one, she's dry, and then I check the leaves. And if the leaves look flimsy, feel flimsy like this, then I know, okay, for sure she needs a good watering. But if not, then I kind of give her a couple of days until those leaves get a little bit more flimsy. If they're really hard, I'm like, no, there's still water in those leaves, so I don't want to overwater her. So that's why I give her a few days. So that's how I deal with watering. And like I said, we talked about soil. Lighting, she is in direct sunlight all day, every day. So as you can tell, her newer leaves are a little bit pink, and that's because of that direct sunlight is sun stressing them. Now, when her leaves first come out, they'll be really, really, really pink, and then they turn into this like yellow cream color. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about this Hoya. Um, it just really made me super proud because this was the second Hoya that has bloomed for me, and it was beautiful. These flowers were gorgeous. All right, moving on to the next plant. All right, so the next plant, we're gonna mix things up a little bit and talk about the one plant that is in a Hoya. And it's not like a super exotic plant, but she gave me a full pup during the winter, and I think that's something to be proud of. And that is this air plant. Look at it. First of all, she has sun stressed during the winter. So now that pink color is really, really, it's pretty intense. You can definitely see she has that pink. And then look at that. And that's the little pup that she gave me. And she did that all during the winter. So I think that's something that I thought was really, just really cool. I do now have a few air plants with pups, but this one, again, it's a pink plant, and I absolutely love me a pink plant. So she just made me like really proud, you know? And these are super easy to take care of. You just want to give it some light. Now, I will say she is in direct sunlight, and that is exactly why she has sun stressed here and giving you that nice, very like light pink color. And all I do for watering is one, I'll like just put it under the sink and kind of shake it like that. But I always leave it on a paper towel to dry or somewhere to dry. So because what will happen is it will rot the bottom here if there's any leftover water. So I am very careful about that. I do shake all the water off, and then like I said, then place it like sideways, or sometimes I'll like just place it like that, so then that way the water can drip out whatever's left over. And I put her back, and she just lives her life in the window with direct sunlight. Like, she's super, super easy. Another way you can water these plants is just putting it in a like bowl of water, letting it sit for a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and then make sure, again, once you take them out, make sure you shake all the water out and let it dry, and then put it back or wherever you have it. But these are super easy. These are really cool because they don't need soil, so you can get really creative on the way you display air plants. I know I've seen a lot of people display it with like a little cute shell on top, and then they'll just have the air plant hanging there, or you can just set it wherever you want. Just make sure it has light and give it water. So if you are underwatering an air plant, you will see these like little tips get crispy, which at one point I was underwatering this air plant, but since then I've made sure to keep an eye on her. just because she is pretty special to me. And then on top of that, she's given me a pup, so I really want to just make sure she's taken care of, especially now because I just really went through it with my plants, and we'll talk about that in the next video. But this one, she just really made me proud and happy and just gave me that little bit of hope that I needed, because at the time it felt like I was losing plants every other day, and she just really stuck with me. And I just want to thank you for that. So, anyways, that's the air plant that I want to talk to you about, and let's move on to the next plant. Okay, so the next plant that we're going to talk about is going to be this Hoya Crimson Queen. First of all, look how beautiful she is. These solid white leaves are just, oof, so beautiful. And I know what you're thinking. Solid white leaves, they can't sustain themselves. They don't photosynthesize. You're going to lose them. And to that I say, you are mostly correct. But for some reason, I don't know why, I don't know how, but the Hoya Crimson Queen sustains these solid white leaves for a very long time. When I originally got her, she only had this one solid white leaf, and since then it had branched out, and now she just has this stem growing of all solid white leaves, which happens a lot with Crimson Queens. And that's also another thing that's pretty cool about them, is you get a lot of variety in the color of each leaf, and I think that's what makes this plant really special. Another thing is when they grow in, they're a really pretty pink color, very similar to the Hoya Australis that we just talked about, where her leaves come in super pink. Same thing, and it's gorgeous. Not only that, but her stems are pink, and that's just, listen, y'all know I love me a pink plant, and she just falls into that category. So when I originally got her, she was given to me in a really, really chunky, beautiful mix. However, I was underwatering, so what I decided to do was put her in leca, because what was happening is she was just drying out way too quickly, and I wasn't able to keep up with that watering. So again, I ended up putting her in leca, and man, did she love it. She started growing roots, and I was able to see the growth because I have her in a clear container. And I mean, now look at her. Look at those roots all over, and even in the back here. Oh my goodness, I love seeing that. Now, if you've never put a Hoya in leca, do it. Please try it, because Hoyas love leca. They love that aeration, so it makes sense that they would like leca, because they can get all up and in there and, have air pockets within the leca. Another substrate that Hoyas love is pon. If you've never tried pon, or maybe just propagating in straight perlite, oh my gosh, they love it. They absolutely love it. And again, it's because it's a very aerated substrate, which is why they like it so much. So I would highly, highly recommend you trying leca for your Hoyas. They love it. So as far as watering goes, I have her in leca, so I just make sure that this right here always has water. I do provide nutrients. I use liquid dirt. I'll be honest though, I have not used liquid dirt pretty much since I moved in. I just haven't really kept up with the nutrients, and she's done fine. Now I am going to put nutrients because I know she does need it to truly, truly thrive, but I've just done water, and I've just been maintaining my plants, just live, please. That's kind of how it's been. But anywho, she's done well in just straight water, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend you providing some type of nutrients to your plants when they are in leca, or even in pond as well. So yeah, this is the Hoya Crimson Queen. Not to get confused with the princess. I'll put not to get confused with the princess, and let me just give you that little difference real quick. First of all, the queen will give you these solid white leaves and the princess will not. Also, the queen has the white or the cream color on the outer end of the leaf, as you can see here. And the princess has the white inside. So if you're ever confused, you're ever wanting to know the difference and trying to figure out which one you have, queen has a crown, the princess, the white is in the middle. Okay, so yeah, anyways, I was really proud of her this winter. She really grew out her roots and started growing, and like I said, in sun stressed really beautifully, and I loved it. So anyways, Hoya Crimson Queen. Okay, the next plant that we're going to talk about is going to be, and please forgive me, I can never say this name right, but it's the Hoya Hush something variegata. I'll put it on the screen because it just don't go by how I say it. Anyways, this plant, oh my gosh, she thrived in the winter. First of all, she continued her sun stressing. She was getting even more sun over here, and she just, I mean, look at that. Oh my goodness, just that outer pink color is ooh, so good. So just so beautiful. And ooh, got hairs. I have dogs though. Anywho, she is just super, super beautiful. And the reason why I tell you she thrived in the winter is because she put out not one, not two, but three peduncles. Now, did they bloom? They tried. Now, is it my fault that they didn't bloom? Absolutely. So what happened was I was underwatering and she put out peduncle, which let me show you. There's one right there, right? Can you see it? Can you see it? Yes, that's a peduncle. She put out her soon-to-be blooms, and what ended up happening is because I was underwatering her, she couldn't support the blooms, so the blooms were drying out, and that did happen to me 2 times. But this plant is just really wanting to bloom, and she has put out another peduncle, and I am gonna do my very, very best to make sure that this plant blooms finally, because the blooms were so close to opening, and right before they opened it just got a little too dry and they just fell off, and I was pretty sad about that because I never actually got to see the bloom itself or to smell the bloom itself, because as you know, Hoyas, their blooms smell, and it's interesting to figure out what like each smell is. Like the Australis, it smelled like a cherry blossom, like it was beautiful. So I'm really excited that she has given me another chance to get it together and not underwater her. So I've been very, very vigilant on making sure she consistently has water. Oh, which speaking of, this is another Hoya that is in Leka, and she was given to me in Leka, so I left her in Leka because this is a very, very special Hoya to me. I actually saw it on Wild Fern. That's where I saw this plant first, and she just made me fall in love with this plant. I saw it and I was like, I need to have that. You know when you see a plant on like someone else's video and you have to have that one too? That's what this plant was for me, and I finally got it, and when I did, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't mess with her soil mixture. I mean, she was still rooting, so that's something you kind of don't want to do. You don't really want to mess with a plant, especially when it's still rooting. So yeah, as you can see, look at all those roots. She's very well rooted. And again, I use liquid dirt and she absolutely loves liquid dirt. And now that she has a well-established root system, she's growing a lot more. As you can see here where she has that bloom, do you see those new pink leaves? Just like the other Hoyas that we talked about, she also is one of those Hoyas that will grow in really, really pink. On top of that, I'm pretty sure these blooms are going to be pink too, but let me see if I can you kind of see? Oh my goodness, it's so hard to because she's so little, but right there, that is her peduncle, and she is she's going to bloom. Like, the flowers are developing. I'm super excited. She has given me another shot for this bloom, so I'm gonna do my best to make sure I'm on top of her watering so those blooms do not dry out. I will keep you posted. But anywho, Hoya Hush something, Vera got it. All right, let's move on to the next plant. Okay, so the blessed plant that we're going to talk about is going to be this Hoya Cowa. Now, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, but you know, I'll put it on the screen in case I'm not. So anyways, this plant is very, very cool. Now, when I first got this plant, it was a dark green color with silver speckles. And now, since I've had it in really high light, she's in full sun every day. Again, it's filtered by a screen, so she's not in direct sunlight. Like, I don't have her outside. I don't have any of my plants outside. The sun is way too intense for my plants to be out there. Anywho, there's a screen. She's filtered, but she is getting direct sunlight all day. And that is what made her sunstress this really pretty maroon color. So all of her leaves are now really maroon, and it's just very, very pretty. Now, all of this is new growth, okay? And unlike a leafy plant, this is not something that you would consider a runner. This is not something that you want to cut off, because with Hoyas, it's going to eventually grow its leaves from here. And I actually can see a little bit of leaf growth coming from right there. And I want to say, yeah, here, there's like 2 other spots where I see baby leaves wanting to grow out. So I do have her like up against a windowsill, and it's kind of where she's getting her support. But now that she has a okay established root system, I wouldn't say to give her a bigger cup or anything like that, because like I said before, Hoyas do like to be a little bit snug, not root bound, but a little bit snug in their pots. They do good with that. But I do want to put her on a trellis. I want to like wrap her around to see if hopefully that will give her the support that she actually needs and wants, not just leaning up against something, right? So that's going to be our next thing to do with her. But she really surprised me during the winter, because all of this new growth is from the winter. And I thought that was really cool. Not only that, but she sun-stressed during the winter, and I thought that was something to be proud of, because this was the main reason why I wanted to get this plant, is because I saw the potential that this plant had, and we're finally here, and she's so beautiful. I know she doesn't look like much, but she is getting there, and we have those sun-stressed leaves that I wanted, so I would consider that a win. So anyways, she, again, because she was a cutting, she was propagated in perlite. She was given to me in perlite, so I left her in perlite. It's been really easy to maintain because, again, she likes that aeration, and that perlite gives her a lot of air pockets to grow her roots, and she loves it. Again, perlite, leca, pond, very aerated substrates that Hoyas absolutely love. So with that, that is our last plant, our Hoya Cowa. I think that's how you say it. Listen, I know I be saying these plants wrong. I just don't, the names of the Hoyas. Anyways, with that being said, that is it for today's video. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you liked today's video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. And if you have any plants that have thrived for you in the winter, oh my gosh, let me know down below. I need those plants. Everybody needs those plants. We all need plants that will actually bring us joy and not like during the winter. You know what I mean? Like, some plants are just, oh my god, a cacti during the winter? No. But that's why we have plants like Hoyas, because plants like Hoyas will thrive and give you blooms and be all exciting during the winter. So if you have those plants, leave it down below. I want those plants. I need to know. Anyways, I hope you'll have a wonderful planty day, and I love you guys. Bye!